everyone, welcome to this week's Halton Hills housing update. So last week's numbers were super promising, but we are going right back into reverse here. So looking at last week's sales, Georgetown only had 5 sales. That is one of the lowest weeks of the year. That is an insanely low number for Georgetown. We do have quite a bit in the sold conditional status, but to only see 5 sales is definitely not great news. Another notable number is our new inventory. We had 22 new listings in Georgetown last week. That is a very high number for new listings, and that is a huge gap versus the sales. So that means inventory is going to be on the rise again. So overall, really bad news. I mean, if you're a seller on the market right now, this is not the trend you want to be seeing. Looking at Acton was dead in the water for like 4 weeks. And thankfully they had 3 sales last week, which is an okay number, but not considering how much is available there. There's something to note though, and this is sort of a warning to sellers on where the markets come from to where it's going. And so I had a client, it probably was 2.5 months ago, that offered on a property in Acton that just updated as sold this week. They offered $70,000 more than those people accepted last week. And they thought like, no, I should be getting this crazy number for my house. And my clients weren't that far off of what they wanted, but the sellers were like, no. And now these people left $70,000 on the table, and my clients are already moved into another house and happy. But it just shows, as a seller, if you have a buyer right now who is willing to even remotely negotiate an offer on your property, you should be taking that very seriously, because the market is not going in a direction that's in your favor. Anyways, I digress. I just saw that and I thought it was notable because everyone wants as much as they can for their house, but the buyers just aren't always willing to pay it. And I'm sure these people are kicking themselves. But looking at new inventory in Acton, there was only 2 new listings this week. So not a huge spike compared to somewhere like Georgetown, but we are really sitting high with inventory in Acton right now. In Glen Williams, there was no sales and there was 2 new listings. Limehouse, no sales, 1 new listing. Rural Markets on no sales this week and 4 new listings. So all of these numbers, aside from Acton slightly being down, all of these numbers are pointing us that sales are slowing and inventory is picking up again. And this is where we were in like June and July, and we all know what happened to prices. So let's just see what happens, but I'm not surprised to see inventory climbing here. It's to be expected. So looking at active inventory, last week all of Halton Hills was at 148 active listings. This week we are up to 166. That's a huge jump, like 18, which is a lot for a week. So again, just a caution to sellers right now that the market is changing again. It's not changing in your favor. We do see an influx of listings that come on in the fall. And so not great numbers for sellers this week. Looking at Georgetown is definitely the inventory that is notable this week. Last week we were at 93. This week we're up to 107 active listings. So we had a few weeks there where we were under that 100 mark, but we're right back over to 107. Looking at our price points, under 800,000 is up from 12 to 15 active listings. So much stuff available under 800,000. Lots of condos and condo townhomes. But we saw a few freehold detached houses this week come up at $699 and are trying to hold off offers. So it will be interesting to see if that strategy is something that's going to come back. But I mean, $699, like that is much lower. That is like going to be our 8, where we were at $899 and everyone was holding offers. So let's see. 8 to $1 million is up to 26 active listings from 23. 1 to 1.5 million. Last week I was so excited for this price point. Like we were over 50, and then last week we got down all the way to 27. Like it felt like this price point was moving again and things were changing, but we went from 27 to 35 active listings this week. So inventory definitely climbed there. pretty significantly. And then 1.5 million plus remain the same this week at 31 active listings, which is also still very high for there. And that price point, very little is moving in that price point. So now looking at Acton. Acton was at 26 last week. We're down to 24 active listings in Acton, but still very, very high there. Glen Williams is up from 6 to 8 active listings. So higher than normal for the Glen, but still not that craziness. I think we were up to 12 or 13 listings in the Glen a few months ago. Limehouse is up to 3 active listings, and the rural market is up slightly to 24 active listings. So Georgetown and Acton are definitely sitting the highest compared to where they would normally sort of be and compared to where we came from. But this is just interesting. We saw such a good week last week, and this week is not good. And this week is when it's the start probably of us starting to feel inventory rising and prices starting to come down again. So another caution to sellers, if you have someone willing to buy your property, I don't think prices are going to be climbing here. So you should really be thinking about how you can best strategize to move that property, because you don't want to be kicking yourself. You know, they always say the first offer is usually your best offer. And so really take those buyers that are willing to put interest on paper very seriously. So I digress, but I think this is the start of our inventory climb for the fall. We will probably see inventory to continue to climb through, I would say, at least the middle of November if we follow any normal trends. And then normally people cool off, sort of like we saw people cooling off in August listing their houses. That happens in December. And then we sort of start all over again in January. But I think this really is the week that we're going to look back on and say this is when inventory started to climb. So I'm now really invested in where these numbers are going to go. Can't wait to see what happens next week. I will be back next Tuesday. Have a great week, everyone.